Good afternoon and welcome to our event today. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Yusrina. I'm from Alpha Momentum Indonesia and I will be the MC for today. Thank you for all startups and participants who spared time to attend this webinar. This topic for this webinar is Startup Clinic with Korean VCs, and the topic is about from funding to exit strategy. We also invite amazing speakers from Korean VCs. We have John Cho as head of Indonesia IB Sinhan Investment Corp, and Retno Dewati as head of Access Ventures LLC, and Simon Beck as director of Global Investment Interface. And the panel discussion will be moderated by Firna Sari as Associate Director from JustCo Indonesia. Without further ado, we will just start the event by introduction from the organizers, which are Alpha Momentum Indonesia, Plug and Play Indonesia, UMG Idealab, and Venturra Discovery.
And also Sinhan Futures Lab.
Oh yeah, okay. And also from one of our speakers, Sinhan Investment Corp. And now the first introduction, we will start from UMG Idealab. I will give the screen to UMG Idealab, Lutfi.
Okay, thank you, Rina, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Lutfi, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about UMG Idealab. I'm going to share screen now. I hope you guys can already see it. So, what is UMG Idealab? So, UMG Idealab is a corporate venture capital. The corporate itself is based in Myanmar. In Myanmar, we have like 40 companies, so it's more like conglomerate, as you can say. It was founded in 2016, and our mission is to seek collaboration with the finest generation of entrepreneurs to achieve their vision in this digital era. So our main businesses are divided into three main categories. The first one is venture capital. The venture capital, I'm pretty sure you already know what a venture capital is. So it's like startup come to us, and if we're interested, we're gonna invest. And the second one is venture builder. Venture builder is a little bit different than venture capital. So usually the idea came from us, and after that, we're gonna look for the right founder and the teams to build the venture itself. And the third one is research center. So for research center, we usually collaborating with universities to develop like some kind of new product. One of the example is we collaborating with University of Indonesia, and we make like artificial intelligence research center. So what we're looking for is startup, or what we're looking for in startup is basically divided into 5 categories. The first one is integrity of the founders and potential market. The second one, the third one is the innovation that can disrupt the businesses itself. And of course, it has to be impactful. And last but certainly not the least is the collaboration. The collaboration can be with our portfolio itself or with the main businesses in Myanmar. So our portfolio so far, we already invested in like 60 startups so far around the world, with the total disbursement of 28 million US dollar. But mostly we invested in Indonesia. We have like 30s in here.
Lutfi? Hello, Lutfi. Okay, I think Lutfi is having technical difficulties. Maybe we can just have the next introduction. Maybe we can start the introduction from Ventura Discovery. Michelle, are you ready?
Yes.
Hello, Michelle.
Yes, Rina, I'm here.
I will give the screen to your screen.
Hold on. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle. I'm the Partnership Manager at Ventura Discovery. Let me give you Ventura's background. So Venture Capital is an early stage VC firm investing in the leading high growth tech companies in Southeast Asia. At the moment, we manage two funds. The first one is Ventura Fund 1 that focuses on Series A and above. Our ticket size is between 2 to 5 million. And the second one we're focusing on at the moment is Ventura Discovery, our fund that focuses on seed investments with ticket sizes between 200 to 500,000. Our coverage is Southeast Asia, and we are sector agnostic. And up until this moment, we have a total of 29 portfolio companies in 7 different countries. Under Venture Discovery, we have 8 portfolios, 4 in Indonesia, 2 in Singapore, and 2 in Vietnam. Recently, we just expanded our investment arm to Vietnam by hiring 1 Vietnam associate, so hopefully we'll be having more investment in Vietnam. Here are our investment in Indonesia so far. As you can see, we've invested in Wanguru, Social, Zilingo, Grab, Bright Story, Fabelio, Recruit, Medio, and etc. Our funds are managed by John Riyadi, our managing partner, who is also the CEO of Lipo Group. And then there's Rudy, who is the founding CEO of Google Indonesia when they first opened their office here in Indonesia back in 2011. And we have Adit, our partner, who has made incredible investments in such a young age and has a lot of experience in the startup ecosystem. So if you have any questions or you would like, for us to take a look at your investment proposal, you can drop them at our website at ventura.com. And don't forget to follow our Instagram and LinkedIn at Ventura Discovery to follow our updates on events and news. That's all from me. Thank you so much, Igna.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for the introduction from Ventura. And after that, we will start the introduction from Plug and Play Indonesia. Jessica, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'll share my screen first.
Okay.
So yeah, hi everyone, I'm Jessica from JustCo Plug and Play. So, what is JustCo Plug and Play? So JustCo Plug and Play in the startup ecosystem, we are the bridge between startups and corporations. So these are the 3 main things that we do. First, Accelerator Program. We run over 50 Accelerator programs a year in most major industries and cities. But in Indonesia itself, we run 2 batches every year. And we also run a corporate innovation platform. As I mentioned before in the previous slide, we connect startups and corporations. We know that startups have fast pace of innovations that can help corporations to innovate their business process. And the third, we also venture capital. In Indonesia itself, our ticket size is 50K. Here are our corporate partner networks around the globe. And we have over 50,000 pre-curated tech startups. And these are our several of our investment portfolio. Maybe you recognize some of them like Dropbox, Landing Club, and PayPal. And our headquarters is in Silicon Valley. So from Silicon Valley, now we already have over 20 offices, including here in Indonesia. So how it began in Indonesia? So in the early 2016, our President Joko Widodo visited our headquarters in Silicon Valley. And then in the late 2016, he invited us to come to Indonesia since he saw that we can help the startup ecosystem here in Indonesia. And Plug and Play in Indonesia has a joint venture with JK. JK is a strategic business advisory and investment alliance in Indonesia with projects in infrastructure and technology. Therefore, in Indonesia, our name is JK Plug and Play. Here is the ecosystem that we have built so far in Indonesia. We partner with media and PR to expose our portfolios, and we partner with tech community and infrastructure, including IBM and also some of co-working spaces. And we engage with educational institutions and universities to, and also we engage with with experts since we have a mentorship sessions in our program. And also we have a broad investment network with venture capitals to help our portfolio on their follow-on funding. And we engage with government like Bank Indonesia, OJK, Enterprise Singapore. And also we work closely with our corporate partners. Here in Indonesia, we have Seven, Astra International, BNI, BCA, ITM, and Buma in mining, and BTN and Sinarmas. So this is our achievement so far since our establishment in Indonesia. We already accelerated over 80 startups, making over 25 investments, and now we are partnered with 7 corporates. And here are the sneak peek of our activities. We have corporate innovations activities, like the corporates here at BNI invited our portfolio startups to have mini exhibitions in their office, in their headquarters, so their business units, their employees there can get exposed with the innovations that our startups offer. And also, this is the other activity with corporations. And also, we have expo. This is like a demo day for every batch of our program. And I think that's all about PnP. And we also want to share about promotions with our partner, JustCo, one of the co-working spaces partner. You can fill out this link, register in that link, and then you can get a free voucher for 2 weeks. Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Jessica from Plug and Play Indonesia. Now we can continue to the next introduction is from Alpha Momentum Indonesia. Okay, from Alpha Momentum Indonesia, Arum, are you ready? Hello, Arum, are you ready?
Hi, hello. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, I will share screen. Okay. Okay, you can start.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Harum. I'm one of the investment associate in Alpha Momentum. So today I will share you a bit about Alpha Momentum Indonesia. Next. So Alpha Momentum Indonesia is a corporate venture capital. We started back in 2019. So what we do is actually we are bridging, connecting and facilitating direct investment between our client and startup. So we value innovation of early stage business to bring a better quality of life. So through our program, we will work together developing innovation to bring impact to our surroundings. Next. So this is our board of directors. There's Pak Rahmat Gunawan, Susan Zhang, and then Kevin Yim. They are all the directors from our corporate. They are all directors from CTI Group, and then and a CIO, one of the community of CIO in Indonesia. Next. So this is the main team in Alpha Momentum. Myself as an investment associate, and then we have Yusrina Husna as a creative and event lead, and also we have Alika Rakda as a partnership associate. And then next. So this is our value. So in looking for startup, we value entrepreneurship, innovation, and community. So really appreciate entrepreneurship that brings from the startup, and we also really look for innovative startup. And besides that, we also help building the startup community with our community enlargement program. Next. So this is our main program that we have. One is a pitch day and investor network. So basically, pitch day is so every month we curate around 50 startup, and then the top startup we normally invite to our pitch day, and yeah, it's every month event. And then the next one, investor network. So from the curating startup, we share the top startup to our investor network, and mostly our investor network IT conglomerate. And then next. So this is our latest and newest program, Startupedia. So Startupedia is basically what we can call it as a magazine. So this magazine is contain all of the top startup recommendation from our curating process. So if you subscribe to our Startupedia, you can actually look for the top startup that is currently for a certain month in Indonesia. And in Startupedia, you will find the information that you need to do investment in startups, and also we'll give a half-year analysis. This is to show what is the trend in startup ecosystem in Indonesia every 6 months. Next. So if we invest in one startup, actually this is the thing that we can help. Because we are a corporate venture capital backed by IT infrastructure company, we actually can help a startup that join as our portfolio in providing digital technology and IT infrastructure. And we also can help in a business network, because our core business is actually quite large in the IT industry. We can help our portfolio for the business network. And like I have told you before, we can also help you with the investor network, because yeah, we are back with a lot of IT conglomerate. So in looking for startup, this is actually the startup that we are interested in. First one is the payment and financial services, and then consumer commerce, artificial intelligence, education technology, digital healthcare, blockchain, and advertising technology. Actually, this is not all of it. Any startup can approach us. It's just the matter of how interesting the startup is, and maybe we can invest. So from 2018, this is our portfolio. We have one called ADX Asia, is in digital marketing company. And then we have from gaming industry, Anantarupa Studio. Digital exchange is a cryptocurrency marketplace. And then Liquid is for investment crowdfunding platform. And then the latest one, we have IO Indonesia. So this is in the sport industry. So other than pitch day and the investor network, we also help building the community startup through our event. The first one is startup upgrade, and then Thrive Thursday, and we also have Alpha Kickstart. So this is our partners that we have been collaborating for the past 2 years. We collaborate with a lot of them. Most of them are from the education institution. So if you guys are interested to drop your pitch deck to get a review from us, you can send it to communication@alphamomentum.id, and yeah, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I think that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arun, for the presentation. We will just continue for the last presentation from one of our speakers, Sinhan Investment Corp. Okay, from Sinhan, Baratna. Okay, you can start now. Hello, Mbak Ratna, maybe you can unmute your audio. Halo, Mbak Ratna. Okay, we will wait for a minute. Maybe they have technical difficulties.
Rina, I think you muted Ratna. Can you unmute her?
Test.
Okay.
Test.
Oh,
Hello.
yeah. Unmute.
Okay, thank you very much. You guys can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you completely.
Okay, cool. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for the chance to deliver of me. My name is Ratna from Shinhan Futures Lab Indonesia. Just to make clear that we are a different entity with Shinhan that will be presenting today, but yeah, we are under the same roof of Shinhan. Shinhan Futures Lab is an acceleration program supported by one of the biggest financial group in South Korea named Shinhan, and we accelerate startup through business networking, mentoring, and link to investment. A little bit about Shinhan. We were established in Korea in 2015 and expanded to Vietnam the following year. And in September 2019, or last year, we opened up in Indonesia. We have accelerated 170 startups globally and maintain a very high survival rate ratio of more than 90%. Under one Shinhan Futures Fund, we have invested directly to some of the startups with a total of 34 billion Korean won, which equals to around 28 million USD. Not only Indonesian startup, we also help Korean startups to penetrate in Indonesia, and we help them to collaborate with our local Shinhan network in Indonesia. So here are some of the benefits and features that you will get if you join our program. You will get infrastructure support like office space and Mega Kuningan Business District, media exposure, networking, global exchange program, where you can meet our global startup and investor in Korea, and then pitching opportunities with our VCs and Shinhan Investment in Indonesia, collaboration opportunities, and professional mentoring classes. Well, in Indonesia, we have started with 4 startups that are OK Home, Kodi, Modal Rakyat, and Itani. And here are some pictures of our office in Mega Kuningan Business District, and our professional mentoring class and business events and media exposure. And if you happen to come to Kohive 101, please come to say hi because we are in Kohive 101. And last one, if you think you want to join our program or collaborate with us, please kindly send an email to sfl.indonesia@futureslab.kr or text us on our official WhatsApp at 081290823494. I think that's all from Shinan Futures Lab Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for Mbak Ratna from Sinhan. Now we will just start the main event, which is panel discussion with our awesome speakers. I will give the screen to our moderator, Ms. Virna Sari from JustCo Indonesia. Ms. Virna, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. The screen is yours.
Okay, my name is Verna from JustCo. Thank you. So today we are going to discuss with respective Korean venture capital. But before, I would like to introduce myself. JustCo. JustCo is co-working from Singapore. Oh, I don't know why I cannot. Okay, this one. Yeah, we founded 2011 in Singapore. Currently, we have more than 25,000 members with 40 plus locations across Asia Pacific. Not so many people knows that JustCo is one of the leading co-working space in Asia Pacific because we are a bit modest in spending our marketing because our target market is actually enterprise clients. We are funded by GIC and also Fraser Property and Sansiri. How is the co-working situation and property in this situation during COVID? We have a more rise of enterprise demand lately because people who are previously in conventional space, they are starting to consider to take co-working to mitigate the risk. We have location in Plaza Indonesia, in AIA Central, and in Sequis Tower in SCBD. So I would like to introduce, I would like to invite one of the speaker, Mr. John from Shinan. Hello, John. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself to the participants.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Thank you, Verna, for the introduction. My name is John, and I work in Shinan Securitas Indonesia, which is the investment bank arm length of Shinan Financial Group. So we are not an exact venture capital, but we are an investment bank where we are in the middle of to connect and bridge the liquidity from Korea towards the Indonesia. So, and that also includes venture capital or startup investment, but we're not only focusing on that, but we're also focusing on the conventional like bond issuance, IPO, M&A. But we are in the middle of Korea and Indonesia, so I think there might be a point where we can collaborate and find some synergy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, and next I would like to invite Simon from Interfest. Hi, Simon.
Hi guys. My name is Simon. I'm director of global investment team at Intervest. Intervest itself is a 21 years old VC with accumulated AUM 1.2 billion US dollars, and we are the 6th largest VC in Korea, and currently managing about $800 million. And we have been focusing on domestic bio healthcare ICT investments in Korea. But in 2017, we thought Southeast Asia has a great potential, so we set up a $100 million fund, co-partnering with Kizura Ventures in Jakarta.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. And then we have Ratna.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ratna, and I'm from Access Ventures. We are actually South Korean and Hong Kong-based venture capital firm. We invest in an early stage company and we've been actively investing in Southeast Asia and particularly Indonesia since 2017. And so far, we have invested in 5 companies in Indonesia and also another 5 portfolio companies in Singapore. And if you ask me about our investment thesis, we are actually sector agnostic, but mainly looking for a B2B sector. And we are preferably to invest in a Series A round with typical ticket size starting from $1 million.
Okay, now I would like to start a panel discussion, and I have a questions. So for the participants, I will, it might take 40 minutes. I will asking the questions to the panelists, and then feel free to ask your questions into the chat if you would like to, and I will ask the questions later on after the panel discussion. Okay, start from John. First question, probably this will apply for everyone as well. How does the startup industry in Korea before and after COVID-19?
Wow, this is a very difficult question for me to answer because I haven't been in Korea after this Corona. So I've been in Jakarta for the past more than a year. So I don't really, well, I can answer in our own business field because I'm still working in the IB field. So I think the biggest obstacle after, post-Corona is that the investors who invest in, regardless of product, they cannot fly in to do their site visit or their DD, which they have to witness and they have to feel the atmosphere in order to execute the investment. So I think, well, yeah, there is still some like video conference calls and there is some virtual site visits, which I still see that it's not that comfortable for the conventional investors like in our father's age. So that's going to be a big obstacle. So, and that's very slowing down the process. So I guess that that will be still remaining as a big challenge that we will have to define a new way or to find a new practical solution for that.
I see. Okay, that is interesting. Okay, what about you, Simon?
You know, opposite from John, I've been not being able to travel to Jakarta since February, so I think I can answer better. In conclusion, there's not much impact because of the COVID-19 because, I mean, I have to start with the startup landscape in Korea. You know, startup industry and the EPC has been tremendously growing last 3 years in Korea. So in 2016, for example, the new investment for the VC was about $2 billion, while last year in 2019, it was more than $4 billion. There are 200 VCs in Korea, and 120 of them are officially registered and being regulated by Ministry of SMEs of Korea, meaning, you know, government pension funds and government sovereign banks and everything, they've been really providing a lot of money to the VCs, and there's oversupply of the money. So, you know, renowned, you know, financial institutions like Shinhan also, you know, there's a very big, you know, financial institutions, they're also putting a lot of alternative investment funds. So, you know, there's oversupply of money. And then, you know, after this COVID-19, startups relevant with the non-contact economies like e-commerce, edutech, logistics, these have been very, very, you know, popular investment targets for the VCs. And then there's oversupply of money. So there's a valuation hype. Various, you know, travel tech industries or hospitality, these, you know, companies in this sectors, their valuations are going down. So it's a rather good opportunity for us to, you know, make an investment. So in conclusion, there's not much impact while every day the confirmed cases of the COVID is only about like 50. So like there's minimal impact, I would say. Not much an impact. Yep.
Okay, I see. So what about you, Retno? Maybe you can share your opinion.
Yeah, Simon, maybe before I start, Simon, maybe you can bring the money to Indonesia since there is oversupply.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, correct.
Right. I don't think that I can give the right opinion since I'm based here in Indonesia. So even though that I'm working for South Korean fund, but actually my main responsibility for Indonesia and Singapore market. But I think from what I learned from my colleague who is based in South Korea, just like what Simon mentioned, that actually in Korea is everything is pretty much like the same, you know, like business as usual. Everything happened because the government can contain the virus very well. I'm sorry to say, don't compare it with Indonesia. But yeah, I think what I heard that the startup ecosystem there, it's still pretty much the same, like deal sourcing happen as usual. A lot of startups still doing fundraising, and VC also still keep dispersing money to the startups. But yeah, but I think that's overall what I can share because I'm not based there in South Korea, so I don't have a bigger picture on the situation, what's happening there.
Okay, so maybe Retno, from your perspective, you can share with us how the Korean, as an international venture capital, see Indonesian market before and after COVID-19 nowadays.
I think in general, like before coronavirus, what happened is, you know, like everyone is still pretty much keep investing in startups. Right now, we do not stop doing deal sourcing because anyway, there are some startups that actually, I would say it's COVID-proof, or even they got like a positive impact from the COVID situation. So I personally, as a foreign investor, seeing this situation, actually, I want to see which startup can leverage this crisis situation as an opportunity. And that's what happened when we are keep doing, you know, like deal sourcing, especially for the area like, let's say in a FMCG distribution, because FMCG is still the needs. Everything like that cover a basic necessity for a market, eventually they get like a good impact from this COVID situation, especially those who are trying to move their business from offline to online. They see the surge and all. But overall, like if you ask in terms of what do we see in the market, I think the market is pretty much quite stable in terms of the fundraising. A lot of startups actually, and they manage to fundraise as well. Not only those who, you know, like who are COVID proof and whatever it is, but I think in general, what we want to see is we want to see who can handle this crisis very well. There are a lot of startups that actually trying to pivot, and that's the right strategy, a survival strategy. And we see a lot of startups in Indonesia that actually manage this very well. And we believe that actually the opportunity is still there. So we're not gonna stop doing deal sourcing, but of course, maybe like in terms of the priority, it might a bit shifting. We are mainly focused on helping portfolios first. I would say like 70% helping portfolios, and then the rest 30% we can, you know, like dispersing our fund to new investment. And in fact, actually, during this crisis, I'm closing 2 new deals in Indonesia, the new investment. So that's how, you know, like we are very optimistic with this market in Indonesia.
Okay, that is interesting that we are all positive during this COVID, yeah? Okay, yeah. So I want to back to John again. In what, and also Simon as well, yeah, of course, later on. In what ways are Korean funds a natural fit for Southeast Asia investment? Especially, Simon, you mentioned you offer flow of money there. Yeah, maybe John, you can share your perspective.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question. Can you ask it again? So what's the main question once more?
Yeah, in what ways are Korean funds natural fit for Southeast Asia investment?
Natural fit? I still don't get the point. How do you define natural fit?
Okay, maybe Simon, you can share your perspective first.
Yeah, so from Korean side, you know, I think Indonesia, like I'm being very transparent and honest. I think what, you know, industries that were very popular for the investment 10 years ago from Korea, 10 to 15 years ago from Korea are being really popular in Indonesia. And then there are a lot of VCs in Korea that would like to, you know, bring the success stories of their investment stories of Korea to Indonesia. So investing in same sectors, like booming sectors like e-commerce, you know, logistics, edutech, you know, etc. So like there are a lot of Korean VCs that would like to penetrate their investments in Indonesia, but the problem is it's not that easy. And then there are about only 5 or 6, including us, Access Ventures, obviously Intervest, Mirai, KB, Korea Investment Partners, SoftBank Ventures Korea. All these companies are very active in investing in Indonesian market, but due to communication problems or due to limitations for due diligence, they're not. I mean, the 190 other VCs in Korea have limitations in investments in Korea, unless they're very, very enthusiastic like us. I think that's
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Simon's point of view in that perspective. And I feel the same obstacle in between these kind of 2 different countries in terms of investment, because having no presence here and investing in a company in the early stage in Indonesia, it means that they have to get a lot of understandings, and it's a very different country between Korea and Indonesia. And based on my experience, it's a different regulation, it's a different culture, everything. So we cannot ensure that the same success story that we have been witnessed in Korea will be proven in Indonesia in a similar way. And a lot of business, including Shinhan, also is making a lot of mistakes in that point of view. So it's very tricky. And the biggest part is that the leading investors who have been already entering this country, including Intervest, the other VCs, have to bring a nice success story in terms of capital gain to prove that this market is attractive and to invite another VCs to invest in Indonesia.
So different of the culture make it difficult, yeah. So Retno, I'm not sure that you experience the same problem with John and Simon on this perspective.
Well, obviously, I do not experience the same problem because I myself is local. But if you ask me, the question is in regard to the investment fit and all, I don't think that. Well, I would say that the right answer to that is what we are looking for is those who are trying to solve local problems or local problems in the market itself. So I don't think it's wise for us to benchmarking with the success story in Korea, even though we are a Korean fund, because definitely, as what Simon and also John mentioned, that it's different market, it's different culture, and of course, it requires a different solution. Even if we are benchmarking with, for example, India, which is the closest one to Indonesia, both of us are developing countries. We share almost similar problems, for example, in many sectors. But still, when we are trying to benchmarking what happened in India, the success story in India, we try to make an analysis whether this is something that actually can be implemented in Indonesia, can be localized in Indonesia. So that's how actually we decide the investment fit for us.
Of course. Okay, and then the next question is, so what is actually the specific criteria in investing in startup? I think this is a major question, standard question for all VCs. What is actually specific criteria that you see before you invest in startups?
Well, I think it's not a secret, right? Everyone is looking at 4 P's, which is people, product, potential, and then we'll see the performance. Of course, we want to invest in the great founders. Everyone knows that we can have the same idea, but whether the founders is actually someone that can really execute that idea into a great product or not, it really depends on who are behind the company. And when we talk about founders, what kind of founders that actually we are looking for, maybe it's also the shifting that I've seen from my previous experience as well, because before Access, I was with the US-based VC. So I think a few years ago when the startups start raising in Indonesia, maybe back in 2014, we heavily invest in a founder with a great education background. So we were pretty much a bit biased. For example, if you are Ivy League graduate and all, we're just gonna invest in them because we believe in them. You are Ivy League or you have an IB background, that's gonna be a great founder. But then turns out that's not necessarily the case. What we've seen right now, when we are looking at the founder, we want to see a local founder who understands the local problems. Because even though you have that great experience, but you do not really understand the local problem and you cannot really engage with the local community, that's somehow it's pretty much for you guys in order to scale your business, especially if you are targeting like in a, you know, like startup who are trying to targeting rural economy, which is very hard to penetrate in Indonesia, something that right now is actually very booming. Everyone is trying to digitize the rural economy. That's one thing on the founder side. The second side, the second thing is of course on the product itself. We have to make sure that the solution that you build, the product that you build, it's actually there is a market. So that's what we call as a product market fit. And then, yeah, of course, we want to see the potential, whether you are addressing the right TAM, how big is the TAM, how big is the SAM or the SOM. I'm sure all the startup founders who are joining this conference right now, you guys are familiar with that metrics. But yeah, so in conclusion, usually what I say when we are looking for investment criteria, we are looking at smart-ass people who are trying to build a kick-ass product and targeting big-ass market. And that will result in the performance on the company, the last P point that I mentioned earlier. So we want to see from that 3 criteria, how they can leverage all those 3 points, become a performance, which we can see the traction of the company.
Okay, interesting. Okay, John, can you share Shinan criteria?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Shinan is not a venture capital. So I think our criteria will be very different with the others because we, as an investment bank, we prefer a little mature stage venture, which is enough proven in a certain level and is ready for IPO. So we can extend our role as not only an investor, but as a lead manager for their IPO and also for the M&A. So our investment will have to be linked to invite the other capital as an arranger, or our investment has to be linked for not only profit capital gain, but also for additional like the conventional IB deals. So for example, during the past 3 years, we only like invested in Gojek and Bukalapak, which is the big unicorns. So that was like a proven model, and we raised funds from the non-VC investors in Korea towards Indonesia, but in a much more bigger size. So we are an investment bank that has to also consider the scale of economy in our like for our own benefit also. So we are not, to be honest, like chasing for the early stage like angel or Series A investment. So I believe we will have a very different criteria.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, John. Simon.
Yep. I think this question is relevant with the investment different investment perspectives of the VC. So for Intervest, we focus on B2C startups that are in the transition of, making upsides. We prefer 2 to 3 multiple with 5 million ticket size rather than, 10x multiple with 1 to 2 million ticket size. So in other words, we focus on the Series B, C growth stage. We seek for startups that are end of the J curve and making a progress. And for the industry sectors, I think it's correlated with the market situation of the Southeast Asia. So if you look at the Southeast Asia VC investment market, 70% of the investments were made in e-commerce or ride hailing. So we invested in derivative sectors in Indonesia, such as logistics, for example, Sicapat, or if people buy more from the e-commerce, then they need short-term lending because of the low credit card penetration. So we invested in Credivo, and then people need to charge up or top up their internet usage or Bolsa, so I invested in Diva. So I think it's all correlated with the market situation, and it's very natural to invest in derivative sectors of e-commerce and ride hailing.
Okay, yeah, that is a smart move there to invest in all the related to the e-commerce and e-railing. Okay, so the next is, so what is actually startup can offer to invest beside money? John, I understand that you are not but is there anything else that actually Shinan probably can invest beside money?
Well, I think Shinan has the biggest contribution in that perspective, as we have a Shinhan Futures Lab, which is still also under our Shinhan Financial Group, which is an accelerator. So besides investing in like the cash, I think the Futures Lab platform is also an intangible way of investments, which can like support a lot of startups in Indonesia.
Of course, so the lab. So what is actually, again, what is the lab doing?
Well, I think there was like a PT from our lab, but it's more than an accelerator. That they provide like an office space, which is also an investment-wise support, and also they can match the Indonesian batch startups with the other startups in Korea and like Vietnam. So it's a pretty good opportunity to try.
Okay, yeah, that is good. Retno, what about?
What we bring except money is, I think what we have done so far is about the cross-border relationship or collaboration that we can do between the portfolios. Like one of the tangible example, like for example, we invest in an e-sport company both in Korea and also in Indonesia. And then we don't, of course, we want to help them to grow even faster, not only with the capital that we inject in the company, but I would say that what happened in South Korea is more advanced in terms of the technology compared to Indonesia. So what we did is actually we bridged the collaboration between our portfolio in Korea and also in Indonesia, what they can learn, and then what kind of the technology collaboration that they can have. So it will help the company in Indonesia, our portfolio in Indonesia, to grow even faster. And another thing is, of course, it's not only cross-border, but also, you know, like in certain area or in certain sectors, when you invest in a lot of companies, in a lot of portfolios in a very different industry or sectors, it's actually, that's how we can help them to get into another portfolios, to collaborate with them, and as well as some of the business development that we can give them for the support, like connecting with potential clients, and then connecting them with our LP, for example, as part of the business development strategic partnership. So yeah, mostly on the strategic partnership, something that we can offer to our portfolio beside the money itself.
Okay, so following up on your answer, do you see a lot of gap between startups in Korea and Indonesia?
Gap in terms of what?
Yeah.
If you ask like in terms of the technology, well, I would say that yes. I have to be very honest that the tech sector in South Korea, especially like a deep tech and etc., they have like more robust tech, I would say. And I think it's also become like, you know, like become like a common knowledge for everyone here in Indonesia. That's one of the main issue or problem that are facing by all startups is we are lack of tech talents here. And that is why a lot of time we still outsourcing. So I think the best thing so far that what we can learn is that how this South Korean company that they have this more robust technology, we can learn from them, not necessarily outsource, but it's more like a strategic collaboration on how we can implement the similar tech into the company. So probably that's the gap that we have right now. But in terms of if you ask about the gap of the funding and all, I think both of us have the same chance or the same opportunity, since even like I would say right now, like a lot of investors is actually more targeting into Southeast Asian market because they said that this is going to be the next Silicon Valley. So yeah, that's the only gap I would say that we have right now.
Okay, thank you, Retno. Simon, what about you? Is there anything else besides money that you can offer to the startups?
I also agree with Retno. You know, for those relevant with the cross-border business or adopting cooperation from Korean side, yes, we can. I mean, we do bring partnership, sales opportunity, and collaborations. So, you know, taking examples from our Indonesian portfolios, Deco Rumah, which is a furniture e-commerce player in Indonesia. You know, Indonesian furnitures in Korea, Indonesian furnitures are known to be very, very good quality with reasonable price. So there's a lot of demands. So I can definitely help, you know, Deco Rumah importing, you know, their furnitures into Korea for, you know, a lot of furniture marketplaces in Korea. And for a company like Credivo, the fintech lending companies may attract big debt investors from big financial institutions like Shinhan, NH, or Mirai. And then in addition, we can bring Korean technologies like AI, blockchain, or SaaS, whatever, to Indonesian companies. For Korean companies, it's we can bring Southeast Asia penetration angle. So most of the Korean companies are not familiar with Southeast Asia or Indonesian side. So, for example, I invested in this company called Smart Study Intellectual. It's IP holder of Baby Shark, the Baby Shark song. And then, the company was not really generating any revenues from Indonesia. So I brought the co-founder and make him meet, Gramedia, Indosat, Kompas TV, or local film production companies, etc. And then they were able to, there's a huge interest for the cooperation. So sometimes we can not only the money, but we can bring the sales opportunity and partnerships.
Okay, yeah, that is great. That is what the startups need as well, right? Okay, so yeah, referring to your answer, is it possible for you to help your portfolio to penetrate the Korean market? Is being answered by Simon, right? You mentioned that you help Dekoruma help to penetrate in Korean market. What about you, John and Retno, in terms of helping startups or companies to penetrate the Korean market?
Yeah, I think John will have.
Retno first.
I'm saying actually, John, you will have the better answer because you know Korean market better than me.
Okay, yeah, maybe back to you, John.
No, I want to say that that's already implemented in the Shinhan Futures Lab platform, because if you see Shinhan Futures Lab platform in Korea, there's more than 500 startups under their platform, and there's like 300 in Vietnam. And so, we Shinhan Futures Lab is already bringing in the like 5 or 6 Korean startups to penetrate this market, and they're going to try vice versa. So as I mentioned earlier about this this lab platform, is the main idea is to connect our existing portfolios to make synergy inside this kind of big kind of a platform. So that was definitely, and I agree that that can be more advantage for us that we can provide to them, not only by investing in capital.
Mm-hmm. Okay, since let's go back again for the lab. What is the criteria to be able to be part on your Shinhan lab in Indonesia?
Wow. Well, I'm not. Well, I don't work in Shinhan Futures Lab, but still, they have a public offering for. I think last year they did the first batch, and they appointed 4 startups, as it was in the PT earlier, and they are preparing their second. And the criteria is basically, well, the fundamental criteria is to find synergy with the Shinhan's financial function with the startup. But it's something beyond that. So even though there's a startup that has nothing to do with finance, they can still apply and they can still find some opportunities. And we can, when we select the final appointments, then we consider not only the synergy with Shinhan Group itself, but also between how we can connect them with the Korean market and vice versa. So I don't think that there is a single, like we don't approach in the sector-wise approach, but more than on the growth and the potential growth. I think that will be the most important criteria.
I see. So maybe who knows, among all these participants today, they want to join the Shinhan lab here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they should.
Okay, so now we have been discussing about the startup industry, but now we are going to move to exit. Is it possible? I mean, okay, what is the right time to do? When is the right time to exit from an investment? Retno, maybe have you experienced exit from a business so far?
The simple answer will be when the right time is when you are ready, or when there is a potential acquirer for you. But I think because exit can be in two kind of exit, right? You can go public, and then or acquisition, you know, like an acquisition by another big players or by big companies, right? But if you ask about the exit, when will be the right time? I think there is no absolute timeline, like for example, in 3 or 5 years. But of course, when you think that your business has been scalable enough, that might be for you guys, for you in to be the right time to exit. Either it's by go public or, but I think the trend in Indonesia, go public or IPO is still not that best choice. I think so far, like acquisition and consolidation with the big players might be, you know, like the best option so far, because that's what I have experienced. As I mentioned that, well, in Access, I haven't experienced any exit yet because I just joined Access recently. But when I was with Finox, actually, when I experienced like 4 exits, and all of them are actually a major acquisition, like from Mocha being acquired by Gojek, and then Bright Story being acquired by Tokopedia, and then, you know, like iMoney from Malaysia was acquired by iSelect from Australia. So, and then Journal and Talenta, who later on merge and become one big group called Makari Group. So I think right now in Indonesia, I start seeing that consolidation phase where big players start looking to, you know, like to acquire smaller startups for them in order to work together. So yeah, no absolute timeline, but I think in general, based on my experience, after 4 to 5 years, that maybe that's the consolidation start happen or the acquisition start happen.
So that is also your preference exit strategy as well, yeah, to get a bigger player to acquire.
No, even if you ask me like a preference, do you prefer your company go public or being acquired? We don't have preference because we are as a VC, right? What I'm looking for is a return on investment. Whichever give me a bigger exit or bigger capital gain, that will be my preference.
Okay, so it depends, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, Simon, maybe you can share your perspective.
I think my answer will be a little bit different from Retno, because you know the focusing stage for the startups in Southeast Asia are a little bit later for us. But for a Korean company itself, you know, our company has listed more than 40 companies in the Korea IPO market. And obviously, you know, everybody will agree that Korean IPO market is much more active than Southeast Asia. So for the Korean side, we obviously focus for the IPOs. But for the Southeast Asia, you know, I think, to be honest, I think we will prefer the third-party sales. You know, if the company becomes really big, like Gojek, Grab, or Zalingo, whatever, Trex, all these unicorns, you know, there are a lot of demands for the PEs for the, you know, all secondary share transactions. So, you know, for us, if the company is more than a $200 million valuation, I still think that in Southeast Asia, it's hard to make an M&A or acquisition by the, you know, conglomerate. So we prefer the third-party sales.
The third-party sales,
yeah.
Okay, John?
Oh yes, I agree with both ideas, because yeah, the IPO market is very different with Jakarta and Korea, so it's incomparable. But I can see that the liquidity in the Korean stock market is so basically, if you invest in a startup in Korea, you have to wait until IPO. But if you're investing in Indonesia, I believe that the M&A market and the consolidation market is much more active than Korea. So, and I can see that there's a lot of exits through M&A rather than IPO in Indonesia compared to Korea. And for us also, as we are already invested in already unicorns, we are also expecting to exit through third-party sales in the secondary market. But yes, but expecting an IPO exit in Indonesia, we have experience arranging an IPO sales through an IPO in Jakarta through the past several years. But we saw that the lack of liquidity in the stock market is a very big obstacle for us to expect any good news from the market. But so but to think in the alternative way. So we also tried to list in a local company in the Korean stock market, but that was also quite, it didn't turn out very smooth. So I believe that you are investing in Jakarta, then, or not in Indonesia, then it's like a third-party sales or an acquisition opportunity, or we'll have to be very flexible in terms of exit.
Okay, so this is probably going to be the last question for me, because before I'm answering, I'm going to asking the question from the floor. What is your biggest challenge in invest in Indonesia? So this will be applied to all of you. We can start with Simon.
You know, Indonesia indeed is very attractive market, taking more than 50% of the entire Southeast Asia VC industry. Yeah. So it's very competitive because all the global investors are enthusiastic about putting money there. And, you know, because there are a lot of investors from overseas as well, you know, for myself right now, it's the, you know, travel restrictions and hard to do the on-site due diligence. It's a biggest challenge, obviously. But in general, I think the deal competition is very high. So, you know, those companies that are performing very well, you know, not only they want the money, but, you know, just the money itself, it's really hard to, you know, persuade our investment. So, you know, if the company is performing well, they need something else. They want value propositions. So for me, I think the biggest challenge is how to bring value propositions from Korea, or what I can help them. You know, I have to list out what I can help them rather than just bringing the money. I think that is the biggest challenge.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So this is interesting because from a perspective of people who are not working in the capital venture industry, so is there any case where you guys fighting over startups? I mean, like, you know, several venture capital fighting over a startup?
Of course.
As you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, so you experience a lot of that situation.
Yeah, we call that oversubscribe. So let's say the venture, you know, the startup raises 10 million, and then, you know, there's a demand for the 30 million funding. I mean, everybody wants to invest, and yeah, it's really, yeah, we have to start competing.
Okay. Yes, yeah. Maybe you can share your perspective.
Yeah, I agree with Simon actually, especially for a smaller fund like us. And if we meet like a very great startup, simply, everyone wants to invest in. And a big fund who can write like 20 million ticket size, they can just write it off and then like take the entire round. And that's actually a good news for the ecosystem, for the startup founders, especially, that, you know, that there are, I think right now, like, what do you call it? Like the supply is there. I mean, in terms of the funding is there. So startups actually, like, especially the great one, you don't have to worry that you're not going to get the investment. You have to worry how you're going to accommodate this oversubscribed situation. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge, I think, for me, especially when we are smaller fund. So it's been very competitive recently in Indonesia. So right now, maybe like 5 years ago, a lot of startups, they went to the pitching competition so that they can meet the investor. But nowadays, everything's shifting. So a lot of startups, the great one, we as the investor should be the one who come to them and reach out to them directly, talk to them, and you know, like to do the investment opportunity.
Okay, so John, I'm expecting another different answer from you beside the offer fund.
I'm very sorry, but my connection was not good when you asked the question, so I couldn't hear it. So can you just repeat it once again?
Okay, so what is the challenge for you, especially like Sinan, when investing in a company?
Oh, okay.
In a startup.
Okay, well, the biggest obstacle is that is a Korean investing in Indonesia. So I guess if you put your shoes in Korea, if any of you had put your money, if you want to put your money in a Korean company, you have to feel the same stress okay, then we have to explain everything to the people in Korea that has never been to Indonesia and has no idea about the Islamic culture. And they have to, and when we explain why this is a problem to them, we also start from, okay, this is Indonesia and this is Jakarta, and we have a warung. Warung is like, so they might ask, how many warung do you have in the country? Oh, we cannot count it. Then so we have to explain the history, the culture, the future.
Okay.
And it's a very different language. Not only the language that we speak, the culture, the lifestyle is very different. So I think that's the biggest obstacle, not only in startup investment, but also in all of our business between these kind of two different countries. So yeah, and well, not only the liquidity and the other investment players. Yeah, we know that there is like a lot of global investors like investing in the country, but still, it's very difficult to become an Indonesian citizen, but pursuing our headquarters in Korea to put their money in this country, and that's the biggest challenge and obstacle for me.
Yeah. I mean, like probably in other countries, they have one culture easier to adapt. Like in Indonesia, like in different cities, different culture, and all that. Of course, would be challenging foreigner. So none of you are answering regulation as an obstacle. So that means I assume the regulation is quite supportive, and none of you have the government regulation as a challenge.
For me, the regulation is very straightforward. Regulation is just a regulation. So it's a matter of we know it or not. So yes, there is still a lot of gray zones, and it's more into the enforcement of the legal system, not about the regulation itself. So that is just, we have to study, and we can study through a lawyer, and we can just go through and compare the different regulations. And for the financial product, instruments are different because there are different regulations. So that's not a typical issue. But if you want to, for example, take into the legal enforcement process as a foreigner, and that's a different game. But the regulation itself is just it's the entrance of barrier, the barrier of entrance. That's it.
Simon, I see that you are smiling when I'm asking about the regulation. Maybe you want to share your experience.
No, I was smiling because, you know, like John mentioned, there's a gray area. So for example, you know, telemedicine, you know, what HelloDoc is doing, telemedicine, drug delivery, these are not only not being regulated, but, you know, it's uncertain whether that's going to be legalized or not. So, you know, there are risks that we take in terms of investments, but, you know, it's something we're being very optimistic. Yeah, we're something to be it's something to be very optimistic, but, you know, you can't really help anything if the regulation comes in and start blocking the business. Yeah, so I was just smiling because it reminds me of the HelloDoc. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No.
I think like regulation, I'm not seeing it as a barrier, but more like, you know, what is it like criteria when we want to invest. So we just want to make sure that the startup operating in a clear regulation. So because if, let's say, the regulation is not clear yet, so it's not a barrier for us, right? It's just a matter of whether we decide to invest or not. Because for us, in order for us to be able to invest in a company, there is no such a regulation that actually create obstacle for the VC to disperse the money. So yeah, I think like, and what is it like? Fortunately, I think right now the government is pretty much supportive in terms of the startup ecosystem. Yeah, so it's not a barrier, but more like investment criteria for us. And when we do the due diligence, we just want to make sure that the startup is being regulated. Like, for example, we invest in a fintech company, so we want to make sure that it's being regulated by OJK, the financial authority. So just to make sure that in the middle of their operation, the regulatory, they won't shut down the company. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion. So we're going to continue the question from the floor. Okay, so we have a question here from Gary Mangentang. We are hotel tech startup based in Indonesia and Singapore. How do VC sees travel and hospitality industry right now, especially from investment perspective. Revenue-wise, startup in this industry is affected pretty bad. But for example, in our case, COVID has ironically also boosted the industry demand for technology. Simon, maybe you want to answer this question from Gary Mangentang?
For, I think there are two answers. Most of the VCs will try to avoid hospitality or travel tech relevant businesses, while some of the very good investors will take this as an opportunity. So if I give you an example, the biggest travel startup, one of the biggest travel startups in Korea, it's called myrealtrip.com. They recently got funded more than $40 million from global investors and big investors in Korea, because they know that this travel industry, travel tech relevant businesses are gonna restore after the COVID is relieved. So I think most of the VCs will avoid the travel tech and the hospitality business, while the smart investor will take this as an opportunity. It's a very obvious answer, but I think it's what's happening.
Okay, Retno and John, maybe you want to add something?
I would be very honest, because we have some hospitality portfolio as well, and yeah, Gary is right that it has been hit hard and in a negative way from the COVID-19 situation, and we are obviously avoiding this sector right now. And especially, I think we're not gonna touch this industry until we get a vaccine, because we do not know till when every country will close their border. Everyone cannot travel around, and even I heard one of Indonesia unicorn Traveloka, they managed to raise fund, but what I heard that actually the valuation is it's a down round valuation. So yeah, it's very tough. Unfortunately, it's a very tough industry right now that's getting hit hard by the COVID-19. And even if you guys, I'm sure you see the report from the Airbnb, and even the Airbnb founder itself, he also said that how the COVID situation take over everything that they have been built for 12 years.
Yes.
So definitely we do not, we want to minimize the risk as much as possible. So unfortunately, we're going to stay away from this industry for quite some time, at least until the vaccine is there.
Understand. Okay, John, do you have anything to add?
I don't think I have further comments. I just agree with the both opinions.
Okay, so because we only have time until 3:30, I'm going to choose. Okay, this is interesting about Islamic Sharia. So this is definitely a tough question for John and Simon especially. So I apply Islamic Sharia, where everything is shared. We share profit and loss. So if we get small profit, we share it. If we get the big profit, we share it. But if we got small loss, we share it. My question is, VC support this type of economic system? This kind of, this, are you supporting into this Islamic kind of system? Retno, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know, because I agree the fact that in Indonesia, I think maybe 80% are Muslim in Indonesia. So a lot of people believe that actually it's a market opportunity. Sharia is probably a new business model that everyone should consider. But personally, I don't have the thesis yet. And I think my knowledge is also very limited in terms of this Sharia, potential investment. And it's even more difficult for me to explain it to my GP who are not Indonesian and try to understand this Sharia market. But yeah, I'm not sure. I can't give a really a great answer or the right answer. But from my side, I personally want to wait and see about this trend, whether this is the right economic model that we have to pursue, and that we have to keep in touch and updating with the progress and all. But yeah, I think overall that with Indonesia as the biggest Muslim country, it's definitely there is an opportunity.
Okay, yeah, that is wise. Simon, John, Simon.
For me, also, you know, I have no idea. I'm sorry, but you know, I have no idea about what Sharia finance. Yeah, and then you know, to be honest, for 2.5 years while I was traveling to Indonesia for investments, I never really thought about Islamic perspective, unless the companies involved with the Islamic perspective businesses. So yeah, I don't have any answer for that. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
It's because like usually VCs or like private equities, or we are also mostly like financial investors. Well, they might be some like strategic investors, but we are our objective is to become a shareholder and to get dividend and to get capital gain in the future. So we are still very comfortable in the conventional limited liability company structure, rather than a new Sharia business kind of idea. So that is not. I don't think until for now we're not that familiar with this idea, but later on, if it's proven, maybe. But still, even though it's proven, I believe there will be more attention from the Southeast Asian capital as Korea has less appetite in the Sukuk bond itself. We can still see that in the market. So I think it will be quite challenging in the future, to be honest.
Okay, so I think that is very insightful discussion today. So it's already 3:22. Reina, are we going to end this discussion, or do you have any time? Do we have time to answer one more question?
I think one more should be fine.
Okay. Okay, one more. Let's with this one. I think, yeah, it's special for you, John, because you rarely answer some question here. What is the time frame that you think ideal range of time frame to go to IPO? Time frame. There's no time frame, but of course, please do share your thought.
Okay, but ideal time frame is a very ideal word, and so I do not want to provide an ideal answer, but I see during my career, well, not only in Indonesia but also in Korea, I saw several founders that has misselected their investors. So every fund or investor has like their own like kind of characteristics. So I saw some cases that there was a wrong investor that didn't really support the company's business. So that fund or those kind of shareholders' existence was a big obstacle for IPO, because they didn't agree with the IPO valuation and didn't agree with the IPO timing. So the owner had to struggle, had to gain the consent of their shareholders, which was very not productive. So I think an IPO is definitely not like
a time frame,
the single solution for every company. So the goal has to not become going IPO. You have to have a bigger vision in the future. So IPO is just a tool. So IPO has to be when it's needed, and since it's a once in a lifetime experience, you have to maximize your utility through IPO. So you have to see whether your business is a hot potato in the market or not, and whether it has been already a hot potato in the past. You have to consider whether now is a good timing through your business like growth curve, and also the market situation, the demand, the liquidity in the market. So it's a very, very difficult strategic business decision. But I want to say that IPO is only once in your lifetime, so it has to be a very, very, very humble decision and a very strategic decision. But still, IPO has not have to be the only goal for the business. But yeah, so have that in mind when you get your first investment from like financial investors.
Okay, sure. And Retno and Simon, how long is your investment paradigm, and what rate of return in how many years your expectation are? This is the question from John Effendi.
If you ask about the rate of the exit, I can't really share that, but if you ask about like how long usually about, I think this is related to the exit timeline, right? Well, usually I think all fund work the same way. So what we doing in the venture capital, usually we have like 10 years of fund period, which is usually the first 5 years is when we dispersing the money. And then the rest 5 years is usually, we call it as a harvesting period, or when we expect the portfolio or the investment got exit by whether it's go public and or maybe like, you know, like being acquired, or even if there is a potential third party want to buy our shares, that's how we do it. But yeah, I can't share like the rate or what is our expectation in terms of rate of return of investment.
Okay, so fair enough. Simon?
Yeah, for us, you know, growth stage investors, so it's very different. You know, if you're series, seed, angel, or, you know, series A focused investors, you know, their IRR can be what, like 50 to 100. I mean, it can be tons. But if you're, you know, focusing on $100 million above funds, you know, making 5 to 10 million ticket size, if you're making about 20 to 30% IRR, it's a very good performance. It's a very, very good performance. That's being in general. And then in terms of exit paradigm, you know, when we invest in Series B to C companies, we expect the company to be in IPO usually within 3 to 5 year period after our investment. So yes, yeah. So I think it will be fair to say for companies in Series B to C, the investors do expect their companies to be listed within 5 to 6 years.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
very nice. Okay, I think that is really interesting discussion. So I give the floor, thank you very much, Ratno, Simon, and Joe, and for everyone. So I give the floor back to Rina, Alpha Momentum.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for such an interesting discussion. And thank you for our participants too. We hope you enjoy and get more insights about Korean PCs and etc. See you on our next webinar, and feel free to give feedback to us on our Instagram pages. And you can also send your pitch decks to our committee's email. You can see the email in chat box. You can send the pitch deck right away. Okay, thank you all, and see you soon on our next webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.